So, Andrew, what do you like about reading?
I like to read during my commute because it's a great way to spend 45 minutes. And what do you like about reading, Crystal?
I like cutting out the inside of the book and then stashing my chocolate in there so that nobody else eats it.
That explains why we have the complete works of Ayn Rand that never come off the shelf.
Yes.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Goldilocks and the Three Cares podcast, the podcast where we take a look at what's too hot, what's too cold, and what's just right with a self-published work. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Crystal.
And what did we read this week, Crystal?
This week we read Witch Song, which is book 1 in the Witch Song series by Amber Argyle.
And where did you find this book?
I found this book on Amazon, and it's sort of a cheat book because it initially was published traditionally, but since it's been traditionally published, she's actually bought back the rights to the book and is now a self-published author.
Wow, good for Amber.
Yes, agreed.
So tell me a little bit about the book. What's the plot?
The plot of Witch Song is that all witches have been captured by this dark witch who is using their power to make herself more powerful. Okay. The idea with this world is that it relies on witches to sort of maintain the balance between the different elements, water, air, fire. And we have one witch left, and her name is Brusenna, and she is challenged with the fact that she is the last witch left, and she has to defeat this dark witch.
And where does the title Witch Song come from?
It comes from the fact that the witch's power is through their song. So they sing their incantations instead of speaking them.
Okay. And now that we've had a chance to read the book, what did we find was too hot? What was there just too much of?
There was a particular character. His name is Pog.
Okay. And
he's an amphibious... He's a creature that, lives in the water. Mm-hmm. He reminded me of Jar Jar Binks.
That's probably not a favorable comparison.
Yeah.
In what way?
It was in the way she wrote his dialogue. It is very difficult to write accents, speech tics, without coming off as goofy. Okay. In a lot of cases. Luckily he's not a big part, or he's not a pivotal character in the book, so we don't have to deal with him for too many chapters. But I found it a bit irritating. It didn't work for me.
And, as an author, how do you approach that where you clearly want to put something different on a character, a different voice, an accent, or perhaps a more childlike approach, or someone whose language is not English as a first language? Like, how do you approach that as an author?
Again, it's very, very difficult to do it. I'd recommend if you're doing accents, at least have someone who speaks with that accent or in that sort of language and flow to see if it works. Get a lot of people to read it, get a consensus, and you really need to work the dialogue. Yeah, so it's
an extra effort you have to put into a character, and as you described it, that character was not there the entire time. It was a more limited character.
Right, so I could deal with it, and I did deal with it.
And after reading the book, what did you find was too cold? What was there just not enough of? What was missing?
For me, so let's talk a little bit about the plot to give some context to this. Mm-hmm. We have a situation where Brusenna is going on a journey, so she leaves her home country and land and gets in a boat and travels to this other country or place. And we know that these people don't get along, that they don't like witches, but it seems that nobody really likes witches in this book. Okay. Except for the protectors of the witches. And that entire journey, we're leading up to the fact that Brusenna is going to this other country because that's where the dark witch is. And that's what you're told, is reading the plot, that this is the driver, this is the arc. Exactly. That we are going here so that we can defeat this dark witch. Mm-hmm. So solely for the purpose of having that final battle. We get there, and we have that final battle, and then we have another 80 pages of the novel left to go. Well, what happened in that book? Without giving away spoilers, what was kind of the theme that was explored in that last quarter? it was more political.
Okay.
So it was based on the politics that were going on in this country. And I felt that in 80 pages, you really get a very surface level sort of idea of what's really happening in this country. And it really bumped me because it was like a completely different novel. It was sort of an appendix within the plot that we already had.
Maybe setting up later books in the series, but still
sure.
making this book a little bit structurally weaker.
Right. It really bumped me. And I actually had a hard time getting through those last 80 pages because, for me, the book was finished.
Would it have made sense to have taken that political intrigue part and introduced that prior to that last, battle to really say that, this is why you should care about this world. This is drawing out the tension with the eventual showdown with the Dark Witch. Like, could that have worked?
I think so, yeah. If we saw more of the world in the beginning, because a lot of it, again, was at sea. So we got to see the sea or in the boat, but we didn't get to see what the people were like, what the world was like, and what was going on in terms of that political situation.
Okay. And what else was too cold? What else left you lacking with this?
We did not get to know what her voice sounded like, her singing voice.
I know this is a personal thing for you because of your background.
This is very personal. No. Well, my background, I am a singer. So for me, I want to know what Brusenna's voice sounds like, her mother's voice sounds like, any of the witches. I wanted to know what their singing voice sounded like because
it's the title of the book.
There's so much you can do with that. People have completely different sounding voices, and I think there's a lot that she could have done with it to sort of add more layers to the story that was just completely missing.
I know one of the things we talked about in an earlier podcast was the idea of if you really want to give a reader a sense of something, you have to use multiple senses. So obviously the song is auditory, and it sounds like we were lacking a little bit there. As a writer, what other sense would you have picked to describe the song if you decided to do that?
I don't know if there is another. See, this is where I'm a little stumped because song is sound. So to not have any sound in regards to the witch's song in the book was just very disappointing to me. I don't know that there would be any other sense that you would use.
Smelled like a high note. It tasted like a. This is a high vitamin C.
The air tasted like chocolate.
It's a little bit citrusy. I like the way you go with chocolate and I go with.
I have a problem.
Anyways, leaving it to the imagination of the reader is something that has value, but not always when it's something that's critical to the plot and the title of the book.
I would say yes, that it was critical in this situation. And
what did we get just right? What did Amber absolutely hit the nail on the head on this one?
I mean, the points that I've mentioned, they were things that I noticed. And I mean, aside from the description of the voices, I really enjoyed the characters. They were very well written. Every action that the character did was very much in line with who they were, and the actions made sense. Brusenna has this fear throughout the book that she's going to have this final battle with this dark witch, and she knows she's not powerful enough to fight her. The love interest, Joshin, he just wants to protect her. That's what he wants to do, and he does actions that match that desire to protect her. So,
I mean, it really comes down to the difference between male and female characters, and there's often a difficult balance to say, a female character in this position would react this way and a male character in this position would react this way. So what you're saying is, they were very genuine to their roles. He was the protector, so he was always saying, hey, get behind me, I'm going to draw my sword. And she was the female character looking out for his best interest, trying to keep him from harm in her own way.
Exactly. Yeah, it was perfect.
And what else did we like about this book? What else did they get right?
Amber did a really good job sort of staying away from the typical young adult teen paranormal romance. We don't have vampires, we don't have werewolves, we don't have shapeshifters. We have witches who are normally portrayed as sort of these wart.
Yeah, they're vilified.
Yeah,
right?
cackling around a cauldron. So I really liked that she took more of an elemental approach. There's singing, which I'm already a fan of. So it was more of a positive female twist, even though there was a dark witch.
Well, you have to have a bad guy, right?
Exactly.
So who would like this book?
People who love reading young adult or teen. This is a very, very clean book. So if you're looking for, something that doesn't have any swearing or, explicit sexual components to it, this would be a great book for you.
So again, everybody, that's Witch Song, which is the first book in the Witch Song series by Amber Argyle. Where can we find us online, Crystal?
You can find Goldilocks and the Three Cares on Facebook under Everything's Temporary, Twitter @EverythingsTemp, iTunes, or on our website, www.everythingstemporary.com.
I'm Andrew. Thank you very much for listening.
Until next time, keep reading.
Before we start recording, I have to get this out of my system.
Okay, okay.
No,
We need
take
to
it.
stop
Don't
doing
take
that.
it. Oh, that's why I can't have clicky pen.